Pastor Suzy Antoun, the daughter of the Most High, from Rivers of Living Water. Our speech today is about the King who judged, finally, Jesus. In our time, we have judges who judge people, but in the old time, in the time of Jesus and previously, was the King who was the highest authority, who can judge person, execute and do whatever command he will command will be his word. The word of the king is rule. And that's Ponce Pilate. And all of us will be aware or remember that Ponce Pilate said that he found Jesus not guilty of any sin, of anything wrong, apart from the things that they want to judge him for, their religion. But him, as a final and highest authority on the world in that time, he judged Jesus as innocent. And Jesus was, of course, innocent. But the thing is, when you go into a prison place, and into that prison place, the prisoners know each other. They know who is guilty and they know who is innocent. Jesus on the cross, he had two type of criminals. The judge they were executed on the or crucified because of something they did wrong. And one of them, he testified about Jesus. He was not guilty. He did nothing wrong, and he has this judgment on him. Isn't it wonderful that our Christ, who's been until today, question about what is the story of Jesus and why and who, and it's a question for every man and woman. He's been judged by the highest court on the human realm, on his time, as he being pure, holy, and no, he did nothing wrong to deserve that punishment. And even with the criminals, people who know crimes, they testify about Jesus that he's an innocent and he didn't do things wrong. Now here is the other judgment of the highest court of the time with Ponce Pilate. When he said about Jesus, he wrote on top of his head, Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. And like Pastor Prince, Joseph Prince, I was just listening to it and yesterday, and I heard it once before. I was just so amazed about the interpretation. First letter of every word of that, Joshua, He Nazarene, He El Malik, of the Jews, which is Yehud, something on that line. You can check it on Pastor Prince teaching in the YouTube. And those four letters, it's the letters of the name of Yahweh. And they were made because on top of the head of Jesus was written that the judgment of earth said that he is the King of the Jews, and on top of his head the judgment of heaven said that he is Yahweh. Yahweh was the word written on the top of Jesus' head on the cross, on that piece of wood who was in there. Isn't it wonderful, all those things that even his enemy testify about him? But now, this is the point that I want to raise. That Jesus is pure, is holy, he did nothing wrong to deserve death, and he was exchanged with Barabbas, the son of Abba, who was a criminal like you and me, and he set Barabbas free to take the judgment of Barabbas on him. We spoke about that once before. But now today you talk about something very, very critical. If a crime happened 2,000, 5,000 years ago, it's still a crime and still need to be addressed. So what is the crime? Into the court, the Jews' court, the high priest judged Jesus. They were trying to find an excuse to execute him and to punish him for this, but they really didn't find much. But there's some false witness. They came and he said that that temple be destroyed and he will build it in 3 times. And they're trying to get Jesus in trouble because of that word. But isn't it true that Jesus said that stone over stone will be stand in this temple. When his disciples were talking to him, and he was telling them about that fact, and all of them were very, very confused and confused and troubled. They say, if you want us to follow him on his kingdom, and he's telling us that this kingdom and the temple will be destroyed, not a stone will be over the other, what is this? What are we following? But brother and sister, the words of Jesus is a prophetic word of a God who knows what he's doing. He has no restriction with time like us. Time after Jesus' death, his prophecy and his words came to be true. And all the temple was destroyed after that, and a stone was not on a stone, like he said. And for more than 2,000 years, until now, the temple could not be rebuilt and will not be rebuilt the way that the Jews expected. Why is that? Because this is God. You see? So even for that crime that he that took him on his word, and they want to judge him for this. Brother and sister, listen to this. When he was on the way to to be crucified, woman was crying and weeping on Jesus, and Jesus stopped and would tell them, do not cry upon me, do not weep for me, just weep for your children. That's a strong word. I'm telling you, the Jews should stand up for their ancestors, for that high priest who judged Jesus. And one of them has to come to apologize on behalf of the Jews, to remove that curse that came upon them, because they accused him of saying that the temple will be totally destroyed, which happened. So it means what everything he said was true. Why the rest of the things that he spoke about wouldn't be true? Is it not a revelation for them to have their eyes open to see the truth that they cannot see, that they crucified the Messiah, the one that they're still waiting for him? But here is the story. In 1994, I was invited to a conference with the Jews, and first time in my life I met Jewish people. And on that time I was reading the story of Moses and how the Egyptian discriminate them and they treat them as slaves, and they were very harsh on them, very unhuman. And my heart was breaking, and then the first time in my life seeing Jews being raised in Egypt when we do not know what we thought that this is your enemy all the time. But I knew that God loved them, and I loved them because of that. You know, my heart was not knowing, you know, that the truth that I hear in my culture is the real truth. But even that, God raised me on that day, and I was looked like an idiot in the eyes of many. And I came to a Jew in front of everyone, and I said, I want to apologize on behalf of the Egyptian who tortured the people of God, and to the Jew, and I want to apologize to you as one of the descendants, being and having the pure blood of pharaohs in me. I stand there and apologize in public for you, for all the bad treatment who happened to you in my country on that time. And on my eyes of my husband and other people and everyone in the congregation who do not understand this, even me, I'm telling you the truth, I was just a baby Christian on the time. I didn't understand what is that. But we have been praying on that time, the Lord's Prayer, and when it comes to the point of forgive us as we forgive others, I felt like I need to be forgiven for the sin of my ancestors. So none of that will come upon me. That was just a simple impression came to my heart, and then I expressed it by apologizing publicly to the Jews about all what the Egyptian did to them in the time of Moses. I'm not really into much of the things happening into the world, but I knew on that day that something is shifting towards Egypt to come into more grace to God, a reconciliation with the people of God. And I'm just challenging every Jew who can listen to this message today and look at me as a simple, brave woman who dare, after 5,000 years, to apologize about something who was done wrong, who was unjust and unfair to the people of God, who were the Jews on the time, and say, sorry, we treat you unfairly. Today, please, if you're a Jew and listen to this message, go and apologize to the Lord of Lords and the King of Kings and to your Messiah. As a Jew, it was true that stone over a stone was not standing anymore on the temple. And we can't, by all the spiritual and all the human effort and all the political technology we have and authority on the earth, we cannot rebuild our temple, which bring your presence back to us again. Sorry, you are probably our Messiah that we didn't recognize in the time. And you are sorry because we judge you and we crucified you. And it's us, like you said to the ladies who are on the cross of the Calvary, weep on your children. See how much you cannot see the lover of your soul, the one that you put on the cross, and the next moment you wipe your tears. I see that picture in Jerusalem when I was there in that conference, never left my heart. Jesus is like the stone who's just left there, the weeping stone. And it's a picture of Jesus on it, and they come and hit his head, their head towards that wall. And Jesus said to Saul, it's hard for you to kick. You can't kick that anymore. Please open your eyes. And my tears while I'm driving, I'm giving this message because I couldn't put it later. Could be my last message, could be message to come. But I'm telling you, apologize to the Lord and the Messiah and tell him sorry. There was no stone left, another stone in the temple, and we cannot rebuild the temple because you said so. And you are the temple of God, and you are the Lamb of God who is meant to take the sins of the world. Let your heart be humble, that I was humble on that day, and I was really tortured at that day with my confession and my apology to the Jew from the Orthodox Egyptian priest, because it was very humiliating. What I said is just look like craziness, but I'm telling you, 2,000 years is none of the Jews stand there to apologize for the Lord of Lords. Be one of them. Stand there and confess him as your Messiah. Talk to him. Confess the sin of your ancestors as Nehemiah did and Ezra, and ask him to forgive the ancestor sin, that may God bring peace to Jerusalem and life to every Jew, that their eyes will be open and they see their Messiah face to face. Thank you for listening to this message, and may God open your eyes and pour his love upon you. Suzy, bye for now.